Hello, this video is part three of my three-part series on an introduction to harmonic astrology. And in this part, I'm going to focus on interpreting harmonics, uh, or give some specific examples. And in particular, I'll look at Donald Trump's chart. We all know a lot about him. And I'll also look at the March 29th solar eclipse, which on the day that I'm making this video, it's just about 8 days away, a little bit over a week. Okay, so let me see if I can share my screen here. This will take just a minute, as I always need to get rid of some panels so that I can see what I'm doing. And it looks like I'm ready. Okay, Introduction to Harmonic Astrology, Part 3, Examples of Interpretation. And I'm going to start by saying a few things about Trump's natal chart. This is the one harmonic chart. And with Sun conjunct the North Node in the 10th house, Trump has an insatiable desire for power. And the conjunction in Gemini with Uranus creates a manic frame of mind that often babbles, resulting in what Trump calls the weave. So his mind is very hyperactive here. As a result of that Uranus and Gemini conjunct both the Sun and the North Node. That nodal axis just intensifies everything. Now, Trump was born just a few hours before a lunar eclipse, and the conjunction of planets with the lunar nodal axis makes this opposition particularly intense. And this is one reason why Trump approaches everything as an opposition between himself and others. There are certain ways in which Trump deals with things in the real world. Because this opposition is so strong in his natal chart, he has this tendency to frame everything in terms of opposition. Uh, that tendency is going to be exacerbated, uh, as we'll see when we look at some of his harmonic charts. But in general, even if you're a friend of his, he will start by first putting you in opposition to him. He makes everything into an opposition, and you could say that psychologically, he's working on learning how to resolve oppositions, how to integrate the two opposites. Uh, he may think that's a very good thing for himself, but it creates a lot of havoc for others. Okay, now Venus rules Trump's 10th house uh, in his natal chart, the one harmonic. And with Venus in the 11th house conjunct Saturn, Trump likes strong men and dictators and people who exert control over things. And he seeks their help and collaboration. And his status is also the one area of his life where he can be very disciplined. Now, with Mars conjunct his Leo ascendant, Trump is also energetic, assertive, and often angry. And because of Leo, his primary focus is on himself. Okay, now he has a strong trine from Jupiter to his 10th house Uranus, and that gives Trump extraordinary luck when it comes to his status in society. And with Jupiter conjunct Chiron and both trine Uranus, one would think that we would see higher aspects of Chiron, such as healing and transcendence in Trump's life. A conjunction of Jupiter with Chiron usually brings out the best in Chiron, the healing side, the transcendent side, rather than the wounding side. But when we look at Trump's strongest harmonics, we'll see why things are not working out in such a beneficial or benevolent way when it comes to the influence of Chiron. Now, the bulk of Trump's first house contains Virgo. And even though his Sun Uranus conjunction Gemini makes him easily bored with things like security briefings, he can be very attentive to details when he wants to, particularly when he is trying to punish someone or some group. Um, Whenever he's trying to hurt someone, he is extremely detailed oriented. He fires FBI agents just hours or uh, days before they would be eligible for retirement, things like that. He goes out of his way uh, to use minute details in order to punish people. Okay, now this wonderful program called Frequency Finder, created by astrologer, uh, coder, mathematician Linda Berry, it shows that overall, his strongest harmonic of the first 360 harmonics is harmonic 258. She calls these vibrations, because she's a vibrational astrologer, that's just a sub-branch, a particular branch of harmonic astrology. But these vibrations, they're also harmonics. So the 258 harmonic is the strongest overall of the first 360 harmonics. And if we look at the first 32 harmonics in descending order with regard to strength, um, I'm looking in particular for harmonics that are less than 12. Well, we have the one harmonic here, that's his natal chart. That's pretty strong. We've already talked about that. But also strong are the 11 harmonic and the 2 harmonic. And we'll talk about the 2 harmonic because that Sun Moon opposition in Trump's natal chart is so strong. And the 2 harmonic shows you who you will be as a result of dealing with the oppositions in your life, and also how you might wind up dealing with these oppositions. So we'll go in the order of 2, 11, and then 258. Okay, the 2 harmonic chart shows who Trump is when he is engaged in dealing with the oppositions in his chart or life. And with Sun, Moon, Uranus, and the nodes in the 8th house, Trump creates a lot of drama when negotiating, and he likes to use other people's money. Those are both associations with House 8. Now, he still has Venus conjunct Saturn in a second harmonic. Remember, they are conjunct in his natal chart. And it's in his 10th house where Venus rules the 10th and Saturn rules the 1st. Hence, the conjunction both here and in his natal chart shows that the one area of his life where he exhibits discipline is in his quest for status. We can also say that with Capricorn rising, that's ruled by Saturn, he is disciplined anytime he is engaged in an opposition or negotiation with someone else. And we'll also see later that in here also his goal in dealing with those oppositions is to increase his own status. Now, with Mars conjunct his Capricorn ascendant, Trump is very aggressive and persistent when it comes to dealing with his oppositions and negotiations with others. We usually think of Taurus when we talk about being persistent, but Capricorn is the persistent in that it will set a goal for itself and then spend years or decades of effort towards achieving that goal. Okay, with his 4th house Jupiter, which is the ruler of his 11th, and trine his 8th house Uranus, which is the ruler of his 2nd house, Trump has been very lucky when it comes to real estate. That's 4th house. Himself, that is a 1st house influence, and other people's money. Uh, other people's money is 8th house, his own finances. That is going to be uh, 2nd house, and collaborations with others. That is 11th house. Okay, now let's look at this next thing. As a result of Chiron conjuncting his 4th house cusp and square his ascendant, Trump tends to wound himself in negotiations as much as he does the other person. This aspect also suggests that he may have been wounded in his home environment as he grew up, and that he might want to wound others in return. So Chiron is not so benevolent as his natal chart suggests. Okay, this is his natal chart, his one harmonic, showing just the 11 harmonic aspects in it. And all of these 11 harmonic aspects suggest that his 11 harmonic chart will indeed be activated in his lifetime. Now, if we look at what the 11 harmonic means, Cochrane Santino has found that it has to do with being restless and impatient and eager to begin something. But if we do a sub-zodiac kind of analysis of it, the root 11 harmonic angle is approximately 2.7 degrees Taurus. If we replace Taurus with another entire zodiac, in other words, go to the 12 harmonic, that is also about 2.7 degrees Taurus. The 12 squared harmonic is 2.7 degrees Taurus. The 12 to the 3rd power harmonic is also 2.7 degrees Taurus. So in addition to being restless, impatient, and eager to begin something, the 11th harmonic also has a very strong Taurus nature. In other words, persevering and focused on comfort and physical pleasures. Okay, this is amazing. Just look at all these oppositions here and look at how Chiron is a part of these oppositions. This 11 harmonic chart is dominated by oppositions, and this shows why Trump is the way he is and why his Chiron is not as benign as his natal chart suggests. His method is to see everything as an opposition that must be resolved, and his opening move is often to first wound the other person. Okay, this 11 harmonic, with all those 11 harmonic aspects in his natal chart, the 11 harmonic chart is certainly going to be activated, very active in his life. And it's all about framing things in terms of oppositions. So no matter who you are, if he wants something, if he is restless with regard to the acquisition of something, his whole methodology is to first set up an opposition between him and the other person or entity. He will try and wound that other in order to gain a bargaining advantage. And then he will try and resolve this opposition in a way that will certainly work out to his own advantage. Okay, now when looking at harmonic charts, one often also looks at the midpoints because they add a lot to the interpretation. And I use a pretty tight board for midpoint conjunctions and oppositions, just orbit 15 minutes. So whatever I find, it will be fairly strong. And I'll talk about just this first set of midpoints here. He has Moon in opposition to the Mars Saturn midpoint in this chart. So here's Moon, here's Mars and Saturn. And he has Moon also in opposition to the Uranus ascendant midpoint in his chart. And so here's Uranus, and here's the ascendant. Okay, this suggests that his personality in this 11 harmonic, it's going to be very aggressive and very controlling of the situation. Right? He wants to control these negotiations in a very aggressive way. Also, he will tend to be very hyper or creative in these negotiations, doing things that are unexpected, breaking up the existing pattern. Okay, that gives us some interpretation for these midpoints, and I'll let you interpret these remaining midpoints as you see fit. All right. Now, in the 258 harmonic, in Donald Trump's case, this harmonic is likely focused on action and independence, Aries, relationships, Libra, travel, Sagittarius, and self-promotion, recreation, Leo. The root 258 harmonic angle is about 1.4 degrees Aries. As if we look at successive 12 harmonics, the 12 harmonic of this angle is also in Aries, but the 12 squared harmonic is in Libra. 12 cubed harmonic is in Sagittarius. 12 fourth to the fourth power harmonic is in Leo. Now, Sagittarius could also manifest in other ways as a love of religion or philosophy, being fed other people's ideas, reading the literature that contains these ideas. Those are some of the other ways in which the Sagittarian influence could manifest itself. But in Trump's case, it seems to manage primarily as travel. With all the Gemini influence in his natal chart and Uranus and Gemini being part of that, I suspect that his mind is a little bit too manic to just get concentrated on a good book and sit there and read it. But he does appear to love to travel a lot and engage in recreation. He is always traveling from one of his properties to another in order to play golf, for instance. And nowadays, all that travel comes at great cost to the American taxpayer. Okay, but this gives a sense of focus for this 258 harmonic and what it's about: independent action, his relationships with others, in his case, traveling, and his recreation and self-aggrandizement, self-promotion. Now, if we look at the 258 harmonic chart, he has Virgo rising and Sun in Virgo in the 12th house. This suggests both secrets and hidden agendas and attention to details that will characterize Trump's particular 258 harmonic. It could be an emphasis on service and healing, but Trump doesn't seem to manifest that a lot, but he does manifest this intense scrutinizing and devotion to details when it comes to oppositions and negotiations with others. He wants what he wants. Now, another focal point in Trump's 258 harmonic is going to be this pile up of planets in Gemini in the 9th house. And this has to do with discussions with others. Moon in Gemini at the 9th. Through talking, he will have a meeting of minds with other people. And that's what he likes to do. He likes to establish a relationship with these other people. Libra here, relationships. Talk with them one-on-one. And then he will be aggressive, Mars conjunct Moon, powerful, Pluto very strongly conjunct the moon, and both delusional and hypnotic. Neptune conjunct moon. Um, he has a lot of delusions, a lot of falsehoods he believes, but he can exert an almost hypnotic control over others much of the time. Okay, now this stellium of plants is opposed by Chiron. This is another indication that despite the indications of his natal chart, Chiron is not always going to manifest benevolently. We're not always going to see the higher aspects of Chiron in his life because in the harmonics that are important in his life, we have Chiron either as part of an important opposition or a square. And so Chiron opposite Pluto, Moon, Mars, Neptune, that is another characteristic of Trump's style. And even with our allies, Trump will begin by treating them as opponents or enemies that must be defeated. And if you start out as a friend, if if he wants something of yours, he will turn you into an enemy, something in opposition to him. He will try and wound you to gain advantage and then try to resolve this opposition. In one sense, on a psychological level, this is how he is learning how to deal with oppositions. But his methodology creates a lot of pain and wounding for others. Now, Trump's hidden agenda, shown by Sun in 12th house. In the 12th house, that is going to be the focal point for all of his negotiations. That's what we're seeing in this 258 harmonic. And at this point in life, I think Trump has grown well into this particular harmonic. These are aspects of his personality that we frequently see. Also, all of his actions are in service of Trump's own visions of power, shown by Venus conjunct midheaven in Pisces in the 6th house. This is where the natal midheaven winds up in the 258 harmonic. And remember, in his natal chart, Venus rules his 10th house. So all of this opposition, negotiation, hidden agendas effort that is going on, it's all aimed at elevating Trump's status in his own visions, Pisces, of what he would like to be. Okay. Now, with Uranus conjunct Trump's Mercury in the 5th house, his mind trends toward manicness and manic creativity. Okay. Again, very creative, perhaps, but in a manic sort of way. Not necessarily a good creativity, but things like making Canada our 51st state, taking over Greenland, invading Panama. Now, the strong square between Trump's Uranus and Saturn suggests that he doesn't like any restrictions or regulations imposed upon him, and he would rather instead break apart structures, establish norms and regulations. And I'll correct the spelling of regulations up here later. Sorry about that. There's always a typo or two that gets by. In the 258 harmonic, Trump also has a grand trine between Jupiter, Neptune, and Mercury. And this gives Trump incredible luck in his dealings with others, his negotiations, his conversations, his meeting of the minds. And with Jupiter in the 1st house, this is one reason why he often likes to turn this into a personal conversation, a personal relationship. Okay, here are the midpoints that are going to be active in Trump's 258 harmonic. I don't think I'll go over them, but just maybe two or three. The midheaven is in opposition to the sun ascendant midpoint, and this suggests that, again, status, his own status in society, the power he has, that is going to be a primary focal point for him in this harmonic. He also has Saturn. Let's see, Saturn's over here. It's opposite the Venus Mars midpoint. And that suggests he is going to be very controlling of the situation. He will use his aggression and the power that he wants, the things that he wants, and then he will be very disciplined and controlling and obtaining what he wants and engaging in these conversations or negotiations with others. And finally, I'll just talk about this one with the moon in opposition to his Saturn Uranus midpoint. His personality is going to be very uh, disciplined, but also simultaneously erratic, creative or erratic, as he tries to gain the upper hand in these negotiations and dealing with all these oppositions. Okay, so this is where he exhibits discipline in his life. And again, I think this chart says an awful lot about Trump's current style, along with the 11 harmonic and the 2 harmonic. And it shows a person who is very active because you have this grand cross in here and some very strong squares too. And it shows his tendency to try and wound other people, as well as his tendency to sweet talk them through personal discussion. Okay, I want to take a look at the March 29th, 2025 solar eclipse. That is upcoming, so I don't know yet precisely how that eclipse will play out. I can just look at the chart, and we see a whole bunch of planets here in Pisces and Aries. So that immediately suggests a blend of dreams and visions, Pisces, and independence and strong action, Aries. We worry about the sun and moon and other things in Aries because this can also be very militaristic. Now, if you look here, we have Mars making an extremely strong square to Chiron. There is going to be some wounding in the world before and after this eclipse. And the consequences of an eclipse like this can last for several months. So there could be strong wounding a few months from now, which will still be related to this square in the eclipse chart. However, we also have this very nice mini grand trine with Mars, Uranus, and Saturn. And this suggests that there will be a creative renewal of infrastructure. That's a positive blend of Uranus and Saturn, and also of financial instruments, since Uranus is in Taurus, which has to do with survival, resources that we need, finances, money, and values. So there will be a renewal of the structure surrounding these things in many places around the world. This part can be very beneficial. It kind of counters some of the wounding that will definitely occur. However, there is an ominous sign for America. In the eclipse chart, Neptune will be at 29 degrees 58 minutes Pisces, But in the chart for the beginning of the American Civil War, Neptune was at 29 degrees 57 minutes Pisces. There's only 1 minute of arc difference between these two positions for Neptune. So Neptune has essentially returned to where it was at the start of the American Civil War. Its influence is intensified by virtue of the fact that this is an eclipse. And of course, Neptune is also in the anaretic degree of Pisces, the last degree, which tends to bring out all the schmutz, all the negative sides of Neptune in Pisces. And this is going to, in America, intensify confusion, misinformation, disinformation, inflame passions, and we're already seeing a lot of dissension building as people around the country are protesting things that Trump, Elon Musk, and Doge are doing. Now, if we run Frequency Finder to see which of his first 360 harmonics is the strongest, we find that it is the 319 harmonic. 319 is equal to 29 times 11. So let's break this down a bit. When it comes to the 29 harmonic, Microsoft Copilot says that this is associated with themes of transformation, deep introspection, and spiritual growth. Now, the root 29 harmonic angle is 12.4 degrees Aries. If I looked at what this position is transformed into in the 12, 12 squared, and 12 cubed harmonics, I get back angles in these signs: Leo, Pisces, and Scorpio. Scorpio relates to transformation, deep introspection. Pisces relates to spiritual growth. And Leo, of course, is personal creativity and recreation. So this is going to be part of the meaning of the 319 harmonic. Likewise, the 11 harmonic is associated with restlessness, a sense of urgency to get something done. We've talked about that before. That is also going to be part of the meaning of this 319 harmonic. Now, if I look at the root 319 harmonic angle, it's 1.13 degrees Aries. Look at these higher 12 harmonics. I get back angles in Aries, Virgo, and Virgo. And combining it all, the 319 harmonic appears to be about vision, transformation, action or independence, details, healing or service, and a sense of urgency. So there's some transformative vision that people are going to be feeling very urgent about. And they're going to want to have the details of that worked out so that they can heal. Okay, here is the 319 harmonic chart for this solar eclipse. Just look at all of these planets in Pisces. And using a 15-degree orb, as I do when dealing with harmonics, I use 15 degrees for conjunctions, half of that for oppositions, fourth of that for squares, a third of that for trines. All of these planets are conjunct. They're all within 15 degrees of one another. And this harmonic suggests that people, at the time of this eclipse, they're going to be anxious for peace and end to global conflicts. Conflicts always have sharp edges. Pisces and Neptune dissolve the boundaries of those edges. They want to create a peaceful harmony and something more transcendent and spiritual. People are looking for an end to conflict, and they want something spiritual in their lives, something transcendent. We go back a second because of the influence of Aries here. It's probably going to be more of a focus on independent spirituality rather than organized religion. Okay. Now, the trine from Chiron to this stellium of planets in Pisces, it suggests that people are also eager for healing. They want some healing, some deep healing, and deep transcendence and meaning in their lives. The lunar nodal axis is square several of the planets involved over here, and that is simply going to intensify these desires to end all conflict. And in Virgo, there is a conjunction between Uranus and Mercury, and that suggests that there will be people in the background who will work creatively to hammer out the details for whatever piece is desired. Now we have just one active midpoint using my 15-minute orb for midpoints. Just one active midpoint in this chart, and that is Neptune, which is conjunct the Venus-Jupiter midpoint within 15 minutes of arc. This midpoint bodes well for the immediate future, and it suggests, I need a space here, another typo to correct. It suggests a combination of growth, Jupiter, harmony, Venus, and vision or idealism, Neptune. So this tells us something about the kind of future people are going to want. And with this eclipse, they're having a tremendous vision and desire for peace and end to conflict and harsh edges on everything they encounter in this world. They want some oneness, some healing, and some harmony. Okay, now I'll end with just a brief word about other kinds of numerical harmonics. First, what about negative numbers? Why don't we use negative number harmonics? Well, we could, but we don't really need them because every negative angle in the zodiac can be expressed as a corresponding angle. For instance, negative 120 degrees is the same as 240 degrees. A negative angle means that we go around the zodiac in the clockwise direction rather than the usual counterclockwise direction. So going backwards 120 degrees is the same as going forwards 140 degrees. So we don't really need negative angles if we can always express them as positive angles. And that's the same reason why on a clock we always say 9 o'clock instead of negative 3 o'clock. Okay, what about fractions, rational number harmonics? Well, suppose we're interested in the 3/2 root harmonic angle. To get that angle, you divide 360 by 3/2, but you might recall from elementary school mathematics that the way you simplify this fraction is you just flip the fraction at the denominator so the 2 comes up to the numerator, and this is equal to 2 times 360 degrees over 3. Well, 360 degrees over 3, that is the root 3 harmonic angle. So the 3/2 root harmonic angle is just going to be 2 times the root 3 harmonic angle, and that gives us 240 degrees. In general, if you have an n over m root harmonic angle, that is simply going to be m times the root n harmonic angle, and that means that this fractional harmonic angle is also going to be just one of the n harmonic angles. So we can always take these fractional harmonics and reduce them back to just counting number harmonics. And so the counting number harmonics are really going to be the most important ones to pay attention to. And here's a nice little graphical display. What I'm showing here are all of the 12 harmonic angles. The root 12 harmonic angle is 3 degrees, and I've denoted that angle by a blue arrow. And then we just go around the zodiac in this order. That creates a nice regular 12-sided polygon. Okay, if instead we look at the 12/5 harmonic, the 12/5 harmonic, the root angle is going to be 5 times the root 12 harmonic angle. That's 5 times 30 degrees, which gives us 150 degrees. And then we just advance by 150 degrees each time. We're going to get back the same angles that we got back, same set of angles we get back for the 12 harmonic, but they're going to be in a different order. It's a different permutation. And the polygon we get back in this diagram is what in mathematics we often call a star polygon. It's a 12-pointed star. Okay, so we can always reduce these fractional harmonics or positive rational number harmonics back to counting number harmonics. Okay, what about harmonics for irrational numbers such as pi or square root of 2? Can we do those? The answer is yes. But the problem is that these harmonics for rational numbers don't follow the same rules that counting numbers and fractions follow. For example, if you take counting number multiples of pi and reduce the results to angles between 0 degrees and 360 degrees, then you will never get a multiple that is equivalent to 0 degrees, and you'll never repeat the same angle twice. So in the set of harmonic angles for irrational number harmonics, we always have an infinite number of different harmonic angles, even after we reduce them to something between 0 and 360 degrees, and we never exactly hit 0 degrees as we do that. But in practice, we don't need irrational number harmonics because they're very important for the mathematical theory of these things, but in practice, we can always approximate them as closely as we like with a fraction, such as when one uses 22/7 or 355 over 113 as an approximation for pi. And remember that the root 22/7 harmonic angle is just 7 times the root 22 harmonic. So again, as the counting number harmonics are most important. Even the software we use for irrational number harmonics, it's going to use some rational number, some terminating decimal to approximate these irrational numbers. And everything works out pretty well unless you multiply that angle by some counting number that's large enough to make everything reduce back to 0 degrees again, because that should not happen with an irrational number harmonic. But again, you can do this, but you don't have to. In practice, you approximate these irrational numbers with fractions that are nearby, and those fractions always relate back to counting number harmonics. So it's really the counting number harmonics and harmonic angles that are most important. Okay, and that is it. So let me stop sharing. And I'm back. Okay, so this will end my introduction to Harmonic Astrology series. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy me for other videos, but for now, I'll just say so long and be well.